Good day everyone, we are from Brunsud Cluster and we are going to report all about Introduction to Early American Literature, and this is prepared by our group or one group from 3E04A. Our objective for this topic is to record experiences and challenges faced by early settlers. Next is to document cultural exchanges and conflicts with Native Americans, to explore themes of survival, faith, and identity, and last is to lay the foundations of American values such as resilience and perseverance. To start with our introduction, early American literature traces its beginning to the colonial era, deeply intertwined with exploration, colonization, and the encounters between settlers and Native Americans. It is also the early periods cover both the written accounts of European settlers and the rich oral traditions of Native Americans. This is also, in this presentation, we will explore these key elements highlighting important writers, their works, and the folk oral literature of the Native Americans. As for the next slides about meaning and kinds of American literature, early American literature encompasses the rich tapestry of written and oral works produced from the 17th century to the early 19th century, reflecting the early experiences of settlers and Native Americans. It serves as a window into the ideological, cultural, and physical challenges of the time, portraying the complex dynamics of survival, identity, and cultural exchange. The written accounts of European settlers capture their struggles to adapt an unfamiliar land, marked by environmental hardships and encounters with indigenous peoples. These narratives often reflect the settlers' religious beliefs, moral dilemmas, and their evolving sense of community. At the same time, the oral traditions of Native Americans, comprising myths, legends, and songs, offer profound insights into their spiritual connection with nature, their worldview, and their rich cultural heritage. Together with these works, not only document the challenges and triumphs of early American society, but also highlights the diversity of perspectives that shape the nation's early identity. Examining these literary forms, we gain a deeper understanding of the resilience, conflicts, and cooperation that define the foundations of America. As for the next slide about kinds, exploration and settlement narratives, these writings, often diaries, journals, or letters, documented the settlers' initial encounters and their struggle to establish a foothold in an unfamiliar land. An example is A True Relation of Virginia by John Smith, captures his observations and adventures, painting a picture of the early colonial struggle. Next is the Puritan and religious writings, which include the literature from this era, frequently focus on religious themes, reflecting the settlers' faith and moral challenges. An example of this is Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God by Jonathan Edwards, is a famous sermon highlighting Puritan beliefs in sin and redemption. Another is the Native American oral literature passed down through generations. These stories and myths often explain natural phenomena or moral lessons. An example of this is The Legend of the Three Sisters, a tale explaining the cultivation of corn, beans, and squash, emphasizes cooperation and survival. Another is the captivity narratives. These detailed accounts by European settlers who were held captive by Native Americans reveal themes of cultural identity and resilience. An example of this is Mary Rowlandson, aforementioned narrative. Another is political and revolutionary writings. As the colonies matured, literature began reflecting political ideas and the push for independence. One example of this is The Common Sense by Thomas Paine, rallied colonial sentiment for revolution and liberty. Through this example, early American literature not only recorded historical events, but also captured the evolving identity and values in its infancy. Another of this is the early fiction and poetry in American literature often reflected the dominant religious and cultural themes of the time, particularly those rooted in the Puritan experience. These works were influenced by the settlers' strong faith, moral values, and struggles in the New World. Fiction and poetry served as tools for both personal expression and moral instruction, providing insight into the societal and spiritual concerns of early America. One of the most prominent figures in early American poetry is Anne Bradstreet, whose work offers a window into the life and beliefs of a Puritan woman. Her poems often blend personal reflection with religious devotion. An example is Into My Dear and Loving Husband, which she expresses profound love for her husband while emphasizing the eternal nature of their union in the afterlife. Similarly to this is Verses Upon the Burning of Our House, which Bradstreet laments the loss of her home but ultimately submits to God's will, reflecting the Puritan belief in divine providence. Fiction in early American literature was less common than poetry, as much of the written output at the time focused on religious sermons, captivity narratives, and historical accounts. Allegorical and didactic elements often found their way into these writings, laying the groundwork for later fictional works. For instance, is the allegorical tale of The Day of Doom by Michael Wigglesworth is a poem that vividly describes the Puritan vision of Judgment Day, blending storytelling with theological instruction. These early fictional and poetic works reveal a strong connection between art and faith, showcasing how early American writers grappled with their spiritual and worldly concerns. Their themes of devotion, morality, and human experience remain a vital part of America's literary heritage. Now, for the next slides, we are going to tackle the notable writers and works of early American literature. Plymouth Plantation between 1620 to 1650. About his birth and early life, he was born in 1590 in Austerfield, Yorkshire, England. He was orphaned at the age of 12 and raised by his paternal uncle. About his religious journey, he became involved with the Separatists, which is a radical Puritan faction, at a young age. He then moved to the Netherlands with other Separatists in the early 1600s to practice religion freely. About his marriage and family, he married Dorothy May in 1620 just before setting sail on the Mayflower. Dorothy died shortly after arriving in Plymouth Colony. He then remarried in 1623 to Alice Southworth, a widow with 2 children, and had 3 children with Alice. And as his role in Plymouth Colony, he served as the governor of Plymouth Colony for over 30 years and balanced responsibilities as a leader, father, and a religious figure. As for the challenges William Bradford faced, he faced numerous hardships including illness, food shortages, and conflicts with Native Americans. He then relied on his faith to guide him through personal and communal struggles. He died in 1657 at the age of 67. He was buried in Plymouth, leaving a lasting legacy as a leader and historian. William Bradford's personal life was marked by resilience, religious devotion, leadership, and the trials of colonial life. He was a detailed account of the Pilgrim's journey and settlement in America, and with this highlights religious faith and the hardship of colonial life. Next notable writer is Anne Bradstreet, the 10th lady sprung up in America in 1650. Anne Bradstreet, which is born in 1612 to 1672, was a prominent poet and writer, known as the first published female poet in colonial America. Her works offer a glimpse into the life, struggles, and thoughts of a Puritan woman during the early colonial period. About her early life, he was born in 1612 in Northampton, England, into a wealthy and well-educated Puritan family. He received a strong education, unusual for women of her time, studying history, literature, and theology. He married Simon Bradstreet at the age of 16. About his journey to America, he moved to America in 1630 with her husband and family as part of the Great Migration of Puritans to the New World. He lived in Massachusetts Bay Colony, enduring the hardship of colonial life, including harsh winters, illness, and isolation. About her personal life in America, she had 8 children and managed a household while supporting her husband's political career, which is Simon Bradstreet later became governor of the Massachusetts Bay Colony. About her health, she struggled with poor health but remained resilient and committed to her family and faith. And her Puritan beliefs strongly influenced her worldview and writings, focusing on themes of faith, mortality, and God providence. As for her literary contributions, in 1650, her poetry collection, The 10 Muse, lately sprung up in America, was published in England, making her the first published female poet in colonial America. As for teens, her poetry reflects personal experiences, religious devotion, and struggles, often addressing topics like family, love, faith, and the challenges of life in the New World. Her style, known for blending personal emotion with the intellectual rigor of Puritan thought, her work shows her intellect and deep feelings. As for challenges and legacy, Anne Bradstreet's Gender Norms wrote in a time when women's intellectual pursuits were discouraged, making her achievements groundbreaking. As for her influence, paved the way for future generation of women writers in America, and her legacy, regarded as one of the most important early American poets, her work continues to be studied for its historical and literary significance. As for her death, Anne Bradstreet died in 1672 in Andover, Massachusetts at the age of 60. Her writings were preserved and celebrated, securing her place as a significant figure in early American literature. Anne Bradstreet's life was a testament to perseverance, faith, and creativity, providing a unique perspective on the struggles and triumphs of a Puritan woman in colonial America. Another notable writer is John Winthrop, a model of Christian charity in the 1630s. John Winthrop, who was born in 1588 and died at 1649, was a leading figure in the founding of the Massachusetts Bay Colony and served as its first governor. A devout Puritan, he is best known for his vision of the colony as a city upon a hill, emphasizing moral responsibility and community. About his early life, he was born on January 12, 1588 in Groton, Suffolk, England, to a wealthy and devout Puritan family. About his education, he studied at Trinity College, Cambridge, and pursued law, becoming a successful attorney, and deeply committed to Puritanism, believing in the importance of reforming society through God's will. About his journey to America, the Great Migration, in 1630, Winthrop joined the Puritan migration to the New World to escape religious persecution in England. The role on the voyage, he led a fleet of ships including the Arbella, which carried settlers to the Massachusetts Bay Colony. He also delivered the sermon, a model of Christian charity, aboard the Arbella, outlining his vision of the colony as a city upon a hill and a model for Christian community. About leadership in Massachusetts Bay Colony, as a first governor, he was elected as the first governor of the Massachusetts Bay Colony, served 12 terms between 1630 and 1649. As for his governance style, he advocated for a theocratic government intertwining civil and religious authority to ensure moral conduct. About his community vision, he promoted unity, selflessness, and adherence to Puritan values to build a godly society. As for his challenges and controversies, John Winthrop faced conflicts with figures like Roger Williams and Anne Hutchinson, who challenged Puritan orthodoxy. About Native relations, he played a role in early conflicts with indigenous peoples, including the Pequot War, reflecting the colony's expansionist policies. And about his personal life, he married 4 times and had 16 children, though many did not survive childhood. About his family, it played an influential role in colonial life, with descendants becoming prominent figures in American history. John Winthrop, known for his intellect, faith, and dedication to Puritan ideals, but also criticized for his authoritarian tendencies. And as for John Winthrop's legacy, he was a visionary leader. His city upon a hill metaphor continues to symbolize the American ideal of moral leadership and exceptionalism. His writings authored the history of New England, chronicling the colony's early years and reflecting his theological and political views. He died on March 26, 1649 in Boston, Massachusetts, leaving a lasting impact on early American history. John Winthrop remains a central figure in understanding the founding of New England, embodying both the aspirations and complexities of Puritan society in colonial America. Another notable writer is Cotton Mather, which wrote Magnalia Christi Americana in 1702. Cotton Mather, which was born in 1663 until 1728, was a prominent Puritan minister, theologian, and author in colonial New England. He played a significant role in shaping the religious and intellectual landscape of the early American colonies, and is remembered for his involvement in the Salem witch trials as well as his contribution to science and literature. About his early life and education, he was born on February 12, 1663 in Boston, Massachusetts Bay Colony into a prominent Puritan family. He was the son of Increase Mather, a leading Puritan minister, and grandson of John Cotton and Richard Mather, both influential Puritan leaders. His education: he graduated from Harvard College at the age of 15, excelling in theology and classical studies. About his religious career, he became a minister at Boston's Old North Church, following in his father's footsteps. About his preaching, he was known for his passionate sermons and writings that emphasized Puritan values, morality, and religious devotion. As for his influence, it has emerged as one of the most prominent religious leaders of his time, shaping Puritan thought and practices. His contribution to literature and science: he was a prolific writer, authored over 400 works, including sermons, theological treatises, and histories. And for his famous works, he wrote Magnalia Christi Americana in 1702, a history of New England's Puritan churches and leaders. He also wrote Wonders of the Invincible World in 1693, which defended the Salem witch trials and explained Puritan beliefs about witchcraft. He also had scientific advocacy, which supported early scientific endeavors, including the promotion of smallpox inoculation, a controversial but pioneering practice at that time. About his role in the Salem witch trials, his support of trials which played a key role in the Salem witch trials, which happened in 1692 until 1693, by validating the use of spectral evidence in identifying witches. The controversy, which is his involvement in the trials, has been heavily criticized, though he later expressed some regret for the excesses of the events. As for his personal life and challenges, he married 3 times and had 15 children, but many died young due to disease and hardship. As for his health and struggles, he battled personal health issues and faced criticism for his role in the trials and other controversies. As for Cotton Mather legacy, in religious influence, he remains one of the most significant figures in the history of Puritanism in America. As for his scientific contribution, his advocacy for inoculation marked a turning point in early American medicine. And he was also a controversial figure which will be remembered both for his intellectual contributions and his conscientious role in the Salem witch trials. He died on February 13, 1728 in Boston, Massachusetts at the age of 65. Cotton Mather's life reflects the complexities of early colonial hardship, or rather leadership, balancing religious fervor with intellectual curiosity and leaving a legacy marked by both great achievements and profound controversies. Next slide, we will see the examples of early American literature. An example is John Winthrop's City Upon a Hill, which is a powerful vision of a moral society. This sermon expressed Winthrop's belief in the Puritans' divine mission. The phrase City Upon a Hill has become a lasting symbol of American exceptionalism. Another is Anne Bradstreet's To My Dear and Loving Husband, which is a personal poem reflecting love and devotion within the context of Puritan faith. It also shows how early American writers blend personal emotion with spiritual contemplation. This is Thelma Mendoza Pacana, and next to me will be Sheila Tugadi.
I'm Sheila Tugadi and here to report about folk oral literature of the Native Americans. Native American folk oral literature is an intricate tapestry of storytelling that reflects the diverse cultures, beliefs, and histories of indigenous people across the North America. Next slides is about key features of Native American oral literature. Number 1. Transmission of knowledge, elders as storytellers. Elders play a crucial role in preserving oral traditions. Their storytelling is not just entertainment, it is a means of educating younger generation about cultural values, history, and social norms. Community engagement. Storytelling often occurs in communal settings, fostering a sense of belonging and shared identity among community members. Gatherings for storytelling can be festive occasions that strengthen social bonds. And the next slide is myths and legends creation stories. These narratives explains how the world was formed and the origins of humanity. For example, the Sky Woman's story from the Haudenosaunee Iroquois describes how the earth was created from the waters below when Sky Woman fell from the sky. Animal tales. Many stories features animals as central characters, often embodying human traits and serving as moral lessons. The coyote in many Plains tribes' tales represents cunning and adaptability, but also foolishness. Next slide is about cultural lessons. Moral teachings, stories often convey important life lessons about respect, humility, bravery, and the interconnectedness of all living things. For instance, tales about respecting nature emphasize the importance of stewardship over land and resources. Social values. Narratives may illustrate the rules of responsibilities of individuals within the tribe, reinforcing societal norms regarding family, community service, and leadership.
Next slide is the type of stories. Number 1 is creation myths. Creation myths explain the origins of the world, humans, and the universe. These stories vary widely between tribes, but all are deeply rooted in spiritual beliefs. An example is the Navajo creation story tells of the holy people, deities who shaped the world and its inhabitants from the 4 sacred mountains, reflecting the tribe's connection to the land and spiritual heritage. Another is the trickster tales, like Coyote, Raven, and Spider, are recurring characters in the Native American folklore. These figures often break rules, challenge authority, and use cleverness to overcome obstacles. In the Coyote and the origin of Death story, Coyote's selfish actions lead to the first death, teaching lessons about consequences. Despite their mischief, tricksters impart wisdom through their flaws, highlighting human nature's complexity. Another is historical narratives. These stories recount pivotal events or notable figures in a tribe's history. They are both historical records and sources of cultural pride. The Cherokee story of the Trail of Tears preserves the painful legacy of forced relocation, emphasizing themes of resilience, survival, and loss. These narratives maintain a tribe's historical continuity and collective memory. Next slide is cultural significance. Number 1 is community cohesion. Oral literature plays a crucial role in reinforcing social structure within Native American tribes. Through storytelling, roles within the community, such as the responsibilities of elders, warriors, and leaders, are communicated. In stories like the Hopi Kachina dances, the characters embody various roles, promoting unity and cultural identity, which are vital for maintaining cohesion in the face of external pressure. Another is adaptation and survival. As Native Americans face colonization, forced assimilation, and the erosion of their cultural practices, oral traditions became a crucial means of preserving their identity. Stories provided not only continuity but also resilience. For example, is the Sunni story of the Great Flood teaches the importance of adaptation and survival, ensuring that future generations could endure and thrive despite adversities. This type of stories and their cultural significance underscore the resilience of Native American communities, using oral literature as both a means of preserving identity and teaching vital life lessons to each new generation.
I am Arna Piagay and going to report contemporary relevance revitalization efforts. Many indigenous communities are actively working to revitalize their languages and oral traditions through educational programs, workshops, and storytelling festivals. Integration into modern literature, contemporary native authors often draw inspiration from oral traditions to address modern issues such as identity, displacement, and cultural survival. Writers like Cernan Alexie and Leslie Marmon Silcock incorporate tradition narratives into their works to bridge past and present. Preservation through documentation efforts are being made to document oral stories in written from or through digital media to ensure they preserve for future generations while maintaining their original senses. Next line is the conclusion. Native American folk oral literature is not merely a collection of stories but a living tradition and that embodies the beliefs, values, and histories of indigenous peoples. It serves as a vital means of cultural transmission, community building, and resilience against adversity.
Next, we are going to tackle Captured by Opekan Canoe, which is a narrative by John Smith recounting his experiences during the early years of the Jamestown settlement in Virginia. An overview of this is the author is John Smith, an English soldier and explorer, played a pivotal role in the establishment of Jamestown in 1607. The context of this is it includes the narrative which describes Smith's capture by Opechancanough, the Powhatan chief, and his interaction with indigenous people.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Elvera Nagutom, and my report is about themes about Opechancanough or Opechancanough. Exploration and survival. Smith's account highlights the difficulties faced by settlers and the complex relationships with Native American tribes. John Smith, a key figure in the Jamestown colony, his accounts depict the struggles of early settlers in Virginia, including harsh conditions, dealing with unfamiliar lands, diseases, and weather, food shortages, constant threat of starvation due to limited supplies. Native American relations, a complex and often tense relationship with the native tribes, highlights the need for diplomacy. Cultural misunderstandings. The narrative refers early settlers' lack of understanding of Native American customs and diplomacy. Likely refers to the writings of early European settlers, and North Americans specifically likely refers to the writings of early European settlers in the North America, specifically highlighting their lack of understanding of Native Americans' culture and diplomatic practices. These early settlers often approached Native Americans with a sense of superiority and a desire to impose their own customs and beliefs, leading to misunderstandings and conflicts. The narrative reveals how a lack of cultural sensitivity and a failure to recognize the complex social structures and diplomatic protocols of Native American tribes contributed to tensions and ultimately to the difficulties faced by both groups. Adventure and personal bravery. Smith portrays himself as a brave and resourceful explorer, which helped shape his later reputation in American history. Likely refers to the writings of Captain John Smith. In his account, Smith presents himself as a courageous and resourceful explorer facing challenges and overcoming obstacles with determination. This self-portrayal, while potentially exaggerated, contributed significantly to his enduring reputation as a key figure in early American history. His adventurous spirit and personal bravery resonated with readers, solidifying his image as a pioneer and a symbol of resilience in face of adversity. Next, key events. Capture. Smith was captured by Opechancanough warriors while exploring the region and refers to a significant event in the life of Captain John Smith. This event highlights the dangerous reality of early colonial exploration while exploring the territory of a Powhatan Confederacy. Smith was captured by warriors under the leadership of Opechancanough, a powerful Powhatan chief. This incident demonstrates the inherent risks involved in interactions between the colonists and Native American, underscoring the importance of navigating these relationships with caution and diplomacy. Rituals and release. He describes a ceremonial moment where he was brought before the chief according to Smith, and he was saved from execution by Pocahontas, although this account is debated among historians. Refers to a pivotal event in Captain John Smith's narrative. This event details Smith captured by the Powhatan tribe in his subsequent encounter with their chief, likely Powhatan himself. Smith recounts a drama scenes where he was condemned to death but was saved by Pocahontas, a young Powhatan woman, who intervened on his behalf. while this story has become cornerstone of American folklore. It remains a subject of debate among historians, and some scholars question the veracity of Smith's accounts, suggesting it may have been embellished for dramatic effect. Nevertheless, this event has captured the imagination and continues to be a significant part of the narrative surrounding John Smith and the early days of Jamestown. Cultural exchange. The narrative highlights the complexities of early interaction between Native Americans and English settlers, including misunderstanding and cultural exchanges, accurately describes a key-theme in the writings of early colonists like Captain John Smith. These accounts offer a window into the complex and often fraught relationships between European and settlers and Native American tribes. They demonstrate the inherent challenges of intercultural communication, highlighting instances of misunderstanding, conflict, and at times unexpected moments of cooperation and exchange. Smith's narrative illustrates how cultural differences, including language barriers, differing values, and contrasting perception of land ownership, contributed to both conflict and instances of learning and adoption. The accounts reveal a dynamic and nuanced picture of this early interaction, emphasizing the importance of understanding different perspectives and cultural practices in navigating and these complex relationships. Next is significance. Historical impacts. Smith's writings contributed to the romanticized view of Native Americans and early colonial life. His accounts, through embellished shape American mythology regarding figures like Pocahontas. John Smith writings, particularly the general history of Virginia, New England, and the Summer Isles, significantly impacted the romanticized perceptions of Native Americans in early colonial life in America. While his accounts were often exaggerated for dramatic effect, they became a foundation to the American mythos, influencing how generations understood figures like Pocahontas. Smith's portrayal of Native Americans, though often based on his own experiences, was often idealized. He described them as a noble, savages, skilled hunters, and honorable warriors, contrasting them with the perceived brutality and savagery of European colonists. This romanticized view resonated with a European audience seeking to understand the New World in its inhabitants. His description of Pocahontas, a young Powhatan woman who played a crucial role in mediating relations between the colonists and indigenous tribe, was particularly influential. While Smith's account of her saving his life from execution is disputed by historians, his portrayal of her as a brave, beautiful, and benevolent figure cemented her place in American folklore. Smith's writings, though embellished, contributed to a romanticized view of early colonial life, often overlooking the hardships and conflicts faced by both colonists and Native Americans. His accounts, however, were crucial in shaping the American identity and establishing a narrative about its founding. Despite the inaccuracies, they continue to influence how we understand the complex relationship between Native Americans and European colonists in the early days of America. Next is literary contribution. The work is significant in American literature for its blend of adventure, exploration, and cultural commentary, reflecting early colonial attitudes and experiences. John Smith, The General History of Virginia, holds a significant place in American literature for its unique blend in adventure, exploration, and cultural commentary. It offers a glimpse in the early colonial experience and reflecting the attitude, fears, and hopes of those who ventured into the New World. Adventure and exploration. Smith's narrative is filled with thrilling accounts of encounters with Native Americans, perilous journeys through uncharted territories, and brushes with death, and this adventurous spirit resonated with readers, captivating them with tales of survival and discovery. Cultural commentary. Beyond the adventure, Smith's work provides a valuable window into the cultural clash between European colonists and Native Americans. He describes the customs, beliefs, and practices of the indigenous people, offering insight into their lives and perspectives. While his interpretations were often biased by his own European worldview, his work nonetheless offers a unique perspective on the cultural landscape of early America. Early colonial attitudes. Smith's writings reflect the anxieties and aspiration of early colonists. He portrays the challenges of settling in a new land, the constant threat of conflict and Native Americans, and the struggle for survival. And his work captures the spirit of resilience and determination that characterized the early American experience. Next is legacy. Smith's narratives remain foundational texts in American literature illustrating both the challenges faced by early settlers and the intricate relationships formed with indigenous peoples. His romanticized storytelling continued to influence perceptions of Americans' colonist past. John Smith's narrative continued to hold a significant place in American literature, serving as foundational texts that offer insight into the complex and often romanticized history of early America. Foundational texts. Smith's writings, particularly the General History for Virginia, provide a unique perspective on the challenges faced by early settlers and the intricate relationships they formed with indigenous people. They offer a glimpse into the struggles for survival, the cultural clashes, and involving dynamics between colonists and Native Americans. Next is romanticized storytelling. While Smith's accounts are often embellished and biased by his own perspective, they have nonetheless shaped the American's narrative and continue to influence perception of the colonial past. His romanticized portrayal of Native American as novel savages and his heroic accounts of his own adventures have contributed to a romanticized view of early American colonists and indigenous people. Enduring influence, despite the historical inaccuracies and bias present and discussed, offering valuable insight into the early American experience. His writings have contributed to the American mythos, shaping how generations understand the nation's founding in its relationship with indigenous people.
Last in our topics is some additional topics, which is the historical context. Under historical context is the colonial and Puritan influence and the role of exploration. The early American literary landscape was heavily shaped by colonialism and the Puritan religious ethos. The Puritans, seeking religious freedoms in the New World, emphasized themes of faith, divine providence, and moral conduct in their writings. Anne Bradstreet, the first published American poet, is a prime example, as her works often reflect her Puritan values, such as her poem, The Prologue, which contemplates her role as a woman writer in a male-dominated society. The colonial context also fostered the rise of captivity narratives like Mary Rowlandson, The Sovereignty and Goodness of God, which recounts her abduction by Native Americans and her reflections on divine intervention and survival. Under the role of exploration, during the colonial period sparked the reproduction of travel narratives, journals, and reports by European settlers. These writings often sought to justify the expansion into the New World, portraying it as a land of opportunity or a place of religious mission. John Smith, A General History of Virginia, is an example of exploration narrative, recounting Smith's role in founding the Jamestown colony and his encounters with Native Americans. His writings reflect the Eurocentric view of the New World as both a challenge and a promise. Under cultural encounters, which is the European versus Native American worldviews, European settlers often brought with them an ethnocentric worldview that saw Native Americans as savages to be either converted or displaced. This clash of worldviews is evident in the early writings about Native American life. For example, William Bradford of Plymouth Plantation outlines the Puritans' arrival in the New World and their belief that their settlement was divinely ordained, often contrasting the Puritans' Christian worldview with that of indigenous peoples they encountered. Under cultural misunderstanding, early colonial encounters were often marked by misunderstanding and misrepresentations of Native American culture. These encounters are often depicted in early American literature as part of the settlers' struggle to comprehend the land and its inhabitants. Smith's own accounts, especially his descriptions of Pocahontas, have been criticized for romanticizing or misrepresenting Native American culture, offering a Eurocentric view of Native people as both noble and savage. Under genres of early American literature, which is sermons, sermons were a dominant genre in early American literature, especially among the Puritans. These religious speeches serve as moral and spiritual guides for the community. One famous example is Jonathan Edwards' Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God, a fiery sermon that warned listeners about the dangers of sin and the wrath of God. Sermons reflected the central role of religion in daily life and the Puritans' desire to create a godly society in the New World. Next is the personal narratives and journals. Personal narratives and journals were used to document the daily experiences of settlers, providing intimate accounts of life in colonial America. Sarah Kemble Knight's The Journal of Madame Knight is an example of a personal narrative where Knight recounts her travel through New England in the early 18th century, offering insights into the challenges faced by women travelers at the time. Last is the political writings, which is writings in early American literature often dealt with issues such as colonial resistance to British rule and the desire for independence. A well-known example is Thomas Paine's Common Sense, which played a crucial role in galvanizing public support for American independence. It blended political argument with passionate rhetoric, contributing significantly to the intellectual foundation of the American Revolution. Next is the notable themes. Under notable themes is survival and providence. A dominant theme in early American literature is the belief that survival in the harsh New World environment was a sign of divine favor. Writers often depicted the struggles of settlers as part of a larger divine plan. William Bradford's Plymouth Plantation emphasizes how God's providence guided the pilgrims through their hardship, framing their survival as a result of divine intervention. This theme underscores the settlers' faith that their survival was a spiritual reward for their perseverance. Next is religious obedience and predestination. Early American Puritan literature often emphasized obedience to God's will and the concept of predestination. They believed that God had already determined who would be saved. Jonathan Edwards' Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God embodies this theme, warning of God's wrath and the necessity of repentance for salvation. Edwards' Fire and Brimstone sermon reflects the Puritan emphasis on strictly religious adherence and the belief that human fate was determined by divine judgment. Another is the wilderness as both opportunity and threat. The wilderness was seen as both a place of potential and danger. It offered opportunities for economic and spiritual growth, but also posed threats in the form of physical challenges and moral temptation. For instance, in Mary Rowlandson, The Sovereignty and Goodness of God, the wilderness represents both a site of captivity and a space where the captive finds spiritual strength. Early American literature frequently portrays the wilderness as a crucible where settlers' faith and survival skills are tested. Next is the Great Awakening. The Great Awakening was a religious revival in the 18th century that sparked a wave of emotional and evangelical sermons across the American colonies. It emphasized personal salvation, the necessity of individual faith, and the rejection of formal rituals. Jonathan Edwards' sermons were central to this movement, with Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God, urging people to repent for their sins and embrace direct relationship with God. This period played a crucial role in shaping American religious thought, promoting spiritual equality, and contributing to the broader intellectual currents leading to the American Revolution. Next is the woman in early American literature. Anne Bradstreet, as one of the earliest female poets in America, Anne Bradstreet's works reflect the Puritan values of her time while exploring personal themes such as motherhood, faith, and the role of woman. In her poem, The Prologue, she addressed the challenges of being a female writer in male-dominated society, balancing her literary ambition with her religious and familial duties. Her poems often reflect the tension between personal expression and religious devotion. Other early female writers, women in early American literature often faced limitation in expressing themselves publicly, but some, like Phyllis Wheatley, used their writings to address racial and religious themes. Wheatley, an enslaved African woman, published a collection of poetry in 1773, advocating for freedom and religious redemption. Her work highlights the intersection of gender, race, and religion in the early literary escape. Number 7 is later effects on American identity. Under it is the formation of national identity. The themes of survival, providence, and individual rights in early American literature laid the foundation for a national identity. The struggle for independence from Britain, depicted in political writings such as Thomas Paine's Common Sense, helped forge a sense of unity among the colonies. Early American literature emphasis on self-reliance and religious freedom became integral to the emerging American ethos. Next is the transition to Enlightenment and Revolution. The intellectual currents of the Enlightenment, with its focus on reason, individualism, and skepticism of authority, influenced the later development of American literature. Writers like Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson incorporated Enlightenment ideas into political writing, challenging traditional authority and advocating for independence, which in turn shaped the narrative of the American Revolution. Next slide is additional writers to include. There are Jonathan Edwards, Sinners in the Hands of Angry God in 1741, a sermon that embodies the fire and brimstone preaching style of the time, emphasizing God's wrath and the need for repentance. Another is Samuel Sewall, The Diary of Samuel Sewall, which is 1674 to 1729, a personal record of daily life. Sewall's diary offers insight into the moral struggles of Puritan living in the early New England. Another slide which include additional examples of Native American literature. One example is the Iroquois creation story, The origin is Iroquois, northeastern tribes such as the Mohawk and Seneca. Its summary: in this myth, the world begins with Sky Woman who falls from the sky world into a vast watery void. Various animals, including a great turtle, help create land for her to live on. Sky Woman gives birth to twins, Good Mind and Evil Mind, who shape the world together, with Good Mind creating life and harmony, while Evil Mind introduces challenges and obstacles. This myth reflects the Iroquois view of balance in nature and the duality of good and evil in the world. Another is the Blackfoot trickster Napi. Its origin is Blackfoot Plains tribe, primarily in Montana, USA, and Alberta, Canada. Its summary is Napi, or Old Man, is a trickster and creator in Blackfoot mythology. Known for his mischievous nature, Napi shapes the world, creating animals and humans, often teaching lessons through his mistake. In one story, he teaches the Blackfoot how to hunt bison by driving them off cliffs, and in another, he nearly drowns due to his own vanity. Through humor and mischief, Napi's story highlights humility, respect, and balance in nature. Another is the legend of the Raven. Origin is the Tlingit and Haida, which is Pacific Northwest tribes. Its summary is Raven is considered a trickster and creator figure who brought light into the world. In one version, Raven steals the sun, moon, and the star from a selfish chief, releasing them into the sky to give light to all. This myth represents the Raven's cleverness and the importance of sharing resources, reflecting the values of cooperation and generosity. Another is the Cherokee Tale of the First Five. Its origin is the Cherokee Southeastern tribe. The summary is, in this tale, the animals discover fire across the water on an island but struggle to obtain it. Brave animals like raven, owl, and snake each try but fail. Finally, Water Spider weaves a tiny bow on her back and successfully brings fire to the animals. This myth teaches the values of courage, determination, and ingenuity, and explains how fire becomes accessible to humanity. Another is the Coyote and the Origin of Death. Its origin is various southwestern tribes, Navajo, and Apache. Summary is Coyote, another well-known trickster figure, plays a role in creating death in this myth. The animals initially agree that people should live forever, but Coyote argues that the world would become too crowded. Coyote's action lead to the establishment of death as a natural part of life. This story reflects the Native American understanding of life cycles and the necessity of balance in the world. Last is the Lakota story of the White Buffalo Calf Woman. Its origin is the Lakota, which is Plains tribe, and its summary is, according to the Lakota, White Buffalo Calf Woman brought the sacred pipe to the people, teaching them prayers, songs, and ceremonies to connect with the Great Spirit. She also brought the Lakota people teaching on respect, peace, and unity. This myth emphasizes spirituality, respect for nature, and the importance of cultural. That will be all for our report about the introduction to early American literature, and thank you po, Ma'am Maddie and classmate, for listening.